Well, joining us now to discuss this is liberating Black communities through financial freedom is Dr. DeForest Soaries. He's an author, president of Corporate Community Connections, Inc., senior pastor of First Baptist Church of Lincoln Gardens in Somerset, New Jersey, and former New Jersey Secretary of State. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
You got a wonderful long list of credentials there. So let's start by talking about financial freedom. You've even written a book titled Say Yes to No Debt, 12 Steps to Financial Freedom. So what would you say is the first step to achieving this?
Well, thank you for your focus on this very important issue. And I believe there are some things we can do while we deal with these systemic issues. All of the data that you described really emerge from systemic issues that are rooted in our history, and there are continuous efforts to address those. However, while we're dealing with the systems and the history, we also can deal with personal and group strategies. We've developed a four-step process, and quite frankly, it was based on my own experience. I became a minister in my mid-20s. The first thing I did was go out and buy a Cadillac. The very first thing I did was to buy the car that I thought I needed to be a minister. And so the culture influences us in so many significant ways that we can't really do enough to help people dissect the culture, strategize around what we have, set goals, and then set priorities towards reaching those goals.
Well, I know you looked sharp in that Cadillac, but I'm sure you realize now that a car is a depreciating asset. You probably wish you'd spent that money on something a little bit different. So talk to us about economic empowerment. Why do you think that this is so important to have this conversations in the Black community?
Well, it's important in the first instance because without economic sufficiency, our civil rights are not even achievable. You know, Dr. King said that it doesn't make sense to have the right to sit at the lunch counter if you can't afford to pay for the hamburger. And many of the data that you describe, much of what the president is attempting to do, really requires that families and individuals start with having real, true, honest conversations. You know, one of the things we advise people to do is to speak with a financial professional. You know, my barber has a lot of ideas about money, but he's not a professional. And we need licensed people. We need professionals. And there's an African American Association of financial professionals that help us, help our people think about what we have, strategize, develop budgets, look for ways to increase our income, look for ways to decrease spending on things we just don't need. You know, I found myself spending $5 a day at Starbucks, which is $25 a week. And if I take that Starbucks money and pay ahead on my debt, I can really pay down my debt faster and not really miss a $5 cup of coffee. And unfortunately, this kind of focus is often missed because we look at the large issues and these types of strategies don't seem to be sexy enough or flamboyant enough. But the fact of the matter is, I went from running from bill collectors, paying my bills late, having bad credit, to where I am today, and I'm far from that because I had a strategy. And so our organization, our nonprofit, gives away the strategy for free. We have a free online academy. We give speeches to churches for free. We have $1 billion challenge. I'm challenging 100,000 Black people to pay down $10,000 in debt, which will, in fact, not only relieve us of the stress of debt, but it will, in fact, give us a position to create wealth from the debt payments. Every dollar in debt that I paid off gave me a chance to create $3 to $5 worth of wealth.
Well, that's great advice. I mean, that's something I think that we just don't talk enough about is how to deal with debt, how to make savings works, all those sorts of things. So I'm glad to hear that you're able to provide that information for free. I want to talk real quick about Juneteenth because it's this Saturday, and now more than ever, people in the Black community are coming together to support one another, which is wonderful. So tell us what your thoughts are about young Black entrepreneurs and what they can learn from other Black entrepreneurs.
Well, I think in the first instance, when we look back to 1865, what we see right after the first Juneteenth celebration, was a real focus on economics. We just came past the recognition of the 100th anniversary of the race massacre in Tulsa, Oklahoma. But deeply embedded in that historical, horrific fact is that black people owned so much. We own restaurants, we own houses, we own the theater, we own six black men own their own private airplane, that it really drove the racists crazy. And if we really want Juneteenth to mean something, I believe we should use it as an opportunity to celebrate what happened in 1865, but also to recalibrate where we are going. All of the prognosticators say that by 2053, the net worth of black America will be zero. We've got to offset that possibility. We've got to undermine all of our weaknesses. And yes, we do need help from public policy. Yes, we do need access to federal contracts. We do need access to capital. But it doesn't start with the business community coming to our rescue. It starts with us coming to our own rescue by developing our strategies, using our resources. We will spend as a community over $1 trillion, that's with a T, $1 trillion of our own money. The question is, are we spending it on wants or are we spending it on needs? Are we investing it in things that will cause our dollar to circulate, or are we spending it in places that cause our money to leave our community right away? And so black businesses need our support. Black churches like mine have to support black businesses and do business with the people in our community. We have got to become very intentional, very microscopic in our perspective on how to create wealth. We also have to understand the psychological and emotional impact, not only of the wealth gap generally, but the COVID-19 scenario that has caused many of our businesses to go under, has caused many of our people to be unemployed. And I just think if we spend more time with each other, if we really look at our options and maximize the use of existing resources, then we can, in fact, overcome the wealth gap.
Well, let's hope that Juneteenth is a way to reset for many people. Thank you so much, Dr. DeForest Soaries, author of Say Yes to No Debt, 12 Steps to Financial Freedom. Stop drinking that Starbucks coffee every day.